Hi there, my name is Mohammad and I'm a third year medical student studying in London, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. And I think many of us during this time of year are thinking about what our New Year's resolutions are for next year. And if you have a few New Year's resolutions in mind, then that's awesome, because that proves to yourself that you want to push yourself to the next level to become a better version of you. And I know it feels as if this new year, 2021, is like a new blank slate that has nothing on it, and you just want to fill it up with achievements and your accomplishments and other positive things too. And I've got to admit, thinking about what our New Year's resolutions are for next year, especially like just after midnight when the new year starts or early morning, is so rewarding. And also it feels so good to think about the things that we have achieved the last year and what tough times did we overcome as well. And you know, I used to always do this every year, where I go and sit and think and plan what are the things that I want to achieve the next year. And you know what happens? During the first few weeks, I get extremely motivated to achieve my goals. But later on, what happens is that I feel that this motivation starts going down when life gets stressful. And then slowly, boom, I stop with these new habits and get back to my original habits. So did that ever happen to you? Comment down below if you can relate to this. It happened to me lots of times, and it sucks. And I know it can get too stressful to continue with the new habits that you want to install in your life when life gets tough. And also the feeling isn't nice when you get to the end of the year and see that you didn't achieve some of the goals that you have set for yourself. And yes, you know, this new year, 2021, feels as if like it's a blank slate that has nothing on it, and you just want to fill it up with things that are positive. But you know, in this life that we live in, this can't happen, because every one of us has to go through some sort of stress and adversity, whether we like it or not. So if you can relate to what I have just said in any way, then inshallah you'll find this video beneficial, even in the slightest way possible. So I'm sure now you're wondering, if setting New Year's resolutions isn't sufficient enough to get you closer to your goals, then what is? And this is the reason why I made today's video, is because I want to share with you what I did that, alhamdulillah, helped me achieve most of the goals that I have set for myself the last year. And this is the New Week's resolution. And its definition is just exactly how it sounds. So, which means that on top of setting New Year's resolutions, I want to encourage you to get into the habit of setting New Week's resolutions regularly. Okay, so what is the significance of a New Week's resolution? So if you want to be realistic, 365 days is a pretty long time, right? And if you have a New Year's resolution, right, and you give yourself a large amount of time, like 365 days, what happens is that you feel that you have lots and lots of time for you and available for you to achieve this goal. And what happens if you give yourself this large amount of time is that you get into a state of relaxation and slowly step into your comfort zone. And when you step into a state of relaxation and in your comfort zone, you feel as if the pressure is off you. And it's important for you to feel this pressure, because this is the pressure that you need in order to help you get on your toes and start today. And when you become aware that a year is a relatively long time, you want to start thinking about how you can break these New Year's resolutions down into smaller digestible goals that can be achieved over a course of a month. And if you look at it this way, also a month is also a relatively long time. And what you want to do even more is further break these goals down, these monthly goals down, into weekly goals. And I think a week is a perfect amount that we can give ourselves, as it is neither a short amount of time nor a long period of time. And it allows us also to be driven before the next week starts, especially if you feel that you have screwed up the last week. Maybe you have been working less efficiently, or you have been maybe procrastinating a lot. And so if you feel that you have screwed up the week, then this week isn't long before it finishes, which means that you can be driven and motivated in order to make the next week a win for you and a success. Think of it this way. Imagine yourself running a really long marathon. I don't know, like 50 kilometers. And if you're not a professional runner, how will you be thinking when you're running the race? Maybe like, where's the finish line? Or am I running the right direction? When is this race going to end? can I even do this? I might just as well give up, you know? On the other hand, compare it with when you're running a 100-meter race. It's a straight line and the starting line is here and you're able to see the finishing line. How differently are you going to think? Are you going to think, where's the finish line, or when is the race going to end? No, you're not going to think this way. Maybe you're going to think, like, how can I win the race? Or how can I beat my opponents? Am I right? And my question to you is, which one of these two scenarios is more motivating? Exactly, the second scenario. And, you know, this analogy applies when you are setting new week's resolutions. And see, when you are setting just only New Year's resolutions, it's just like yourself running this long marathon. You don't know if you're going the right direction. It's just like you're lost within the way. You don't have like small plans that will help and guide you to where you want to go. On the other hand, when you set New Week's resolutions, it's just as if you are running this 100-meter race, because it is short and the finishing line is just right in front of you. And it's more motivating since, like, again, once you have screwed up the past week, it's not going to take a long time until it is over so that you can redeem yourself the next week. So before, I used to like apply and implement New Week's resolutions on a regular basis. I wasn't really sure how to get closer to my goals and how to actually just like get my life together. And the only time I used to evaluate my life was at the start of the new year or at the end of the past year. Just like, which meant like just only once a year. And that's it. Like, I wrote everything down and closed my book and put in my drawer, and that's it. And during the year, I end up forgetting where my New Year's resolutions are for the year. And when the year ends, I go and open the book and see like what are my New Year's resolutions are for the year, because I totally forgot about them. I didn't know what they are. And since I have forgotten what my New Year's resolutions are for the year, this meant that there wasn't much deliberate personal growth that has taken place. But get this, when you constantly apply the New Week's resolution, not only are you going to undergo deliberate personal growth on a regular basis and getting closer to your goals, inshallah, but you're also going to cope with failure in a much better way and a much more efficient way. Why? Because see, every one of us goes through some sort of stress and adversity through life, but once you are aware and evaluating your life on a regular basis, you are constantly going to be on your toes and figuring out solutions into how to overcome the obstacles that you're encountering in your life. And plus, when you start to embrace the New Week's resolutions on a regular basis, you don't have to be like most people until the whole year is over so that you can have a fresh start in order to redeem yourself. See, when you start to implement the New Week's resolution, you will start to understand that every week is going to be an opportunity for you to redeem yourself. And again, you don't have to wait, and you don't have to be like most people and wait until 365 days is over. Like, this is something that many people believe, and you don't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be this way because it is between you and yourself, right? So if you're willing to implement this ultimate New Year's resolution, then first, I want to congratulate you for taking this step, because this is one of the major steps that you can take that will inshallah help you get closer to your goals and become a better version of yourself. And when it comes to implementing the New Week's resolution, there are 3 phases that I used to go through. And now I'm going to share with you these 3 phases. So phase 1 is the clarity phase. And the clarity phase is all about getting crystal clear on what your New Year's resolutions are for the year. Because your weekly goals, your New Week's resolutions are going to be based on your New Year's resolutions. And if you're not clear on your New Year's resolutions, then how can you get closer to your goals and set for yourself New Week's resolutions, right? Is it maybe to read 6 books during the year, or read the Quran more often, or exercise more regularly, or score higher grades on your exams? Whatever it is, I want to encourage you to like sit and spend time thinking and getting clear on what exactly do you want. Once you have figured out what your New Year's resolutions are, you want to write them down on a place where you can see them every day, and don't make the mistake that I did, where I wrote them down on a book and put in my drawer and forgot about it the whole year. You don't want to do that, because if you forget about them, chances are that you won't undergo deliberate personal growth during the year. And phase 2 is the deconstruction phase. And as we have discussed just now, that 365 days is a relatively long time. And you want to think about breaking your New Year's resolutions down into monthly goals that can be achieved over the course of a month. And then you want to break down your monthly goals down into weekly goals. And therefore, you will have your new week's resolutions. Don't overwhelm yourself by setting like 10 to 15 new week's resolutions, or otherwise you're going to overwhelm yourself. I want to encourage you to start small, maybe like 3 to 5 new week's resolutions or weekly goals. And if you feel if it's too easy for you, then you might want to bring it up a bit and challenge yourself, or vice versa. If you feel it's too hard, you might want to make it a bit more easy for you, because if you overwhelm yourself, chances are that you won't continue with this habit in the long term. And the third phase is the reflection phase. And the reflection phase is all about evaluating how your past week went by asking yourself questions like, what were the good things that happened last week? And what were the obstacles that I faced last week? And how can I prevent these things from happening again? And you also want to evaluate all aspects and categories of your life, like your social life, your financial life, your emotional life, your relationships or social life, your physical life, your spiritual life, everything, and see what good things have occurred in each category of these and what things can you improve on for next week. The amazing thing is that the answers to these questions will help you tailor your next week's new week's resolutions. And there's no right or wrong way to reflect on your experiences. Maybe you just want to sit down on the sofa and think and visualize how your past week went. Or maybe you want to pull out your journal and write some things down, whatever it is. I personally don't like writing things down. I like to just sit down or maybe just walk around, just visualize and think about what things have occurred to me last week. And the key is how can you make the next week a win for you? And just slowly, once you have achieved your new week's resolutions, week after week, you achieve your monthly goals. Once, inshallah, you have achieved all of your monthly goals, then inshallah, you're going to be much closer to achieving your New Year's resolutions. And just to summarize the 3 phases that we have just gone through, the first phase is the clarity phase. Just get clear on what your New Year's resolutions are for the year. The second phase is the deconstruction phase. Break your New Year's resolutions down into monthly and weekly goals. And the third phase is the reflection phase. It's all about reflecting on how your week went and tailoring it to make your next week a win for you. So that's it from me for today's video. I hope you found it useful and I hope you learned a thing or two from it. And if you have enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this about personal growth. Please don't forget to share with your friends and your family, and I'll see you next week, inshallah.